Hey everyone, welcome back. If you've ever found yourself wanting to speed up your Power BI reports, especially when working with large amounts of data, you've probably heard about using aggregation tables. But what about when you need to handle averages, those tricky calculation types that aren't as straightforward as sums or counts? In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you exactly how to handle aggregation tables with averages in Power BI. By the end of this guide, you'll feel confident setting up, managing, and troubleshooting aggregation tables so your dashboards run smoothly, even with complex average calculations. Let's jump right in. First things first, open up Power BI. You can use either Power BI Desktop or the service, but I'll be demonstrating in Desktop. Once your report is open, you'll want to navigate to the model view. You'll find this over on the left-hand menu. It looks like a small diagram or wireframe of tables. The model view is where you can see how all your tables connect, and it's the best place to work with aggregations because you can easily understand how your data flows. Now pick the table you want to manage aggregations for. Simply right-click on that table. Don't worry if you have several, just choose the one that holds the majority of your data or the one you're aggregating on. From the context menu, select Manage Aggregations. This panel is where the magic happens. It's where you define how your data will be summarized and queried for speed. If you haven't used it before, think of it like setting up shortcuts for your data engine, so Power BI doesn't have to scan every single row every time you run a report. Pretty neat, right? From here, let's slow down and talk through some crucial conditions you need to keep in mind as you configure your aggregation tables for averages. The first one is one-to-one mapping of columns. This means the column in your aggregation table needs to directly correspond to a column in your detailed table. Imagine matching socks after laundry. One detail sock, one aggregate sock, both need to be a pair. Second, relationships are required. It's important to establish relationships between tables. Think of this as having clear labeled roads between data neighborhoods so Power BI knows how to travel from summary to detail. If your relationship isn't set up correctly, your averages might not compute as expected or Power BI could get confused about which data to use. Third, you've got to use valid aggregation functions. For sum or count, this is very straightforward, but averages can get tricky. Aggregating pre-computed averages can sometimes lead to skewed results. What you'll often want to do is store sums and counts separately in your aggregation table, then divide them in your DAX measures. This gives you an accurate average at any level of detail. Number 4, consider granularity alignment. Your aggregation table should be at the same or higher level of granularity as your detailed data. If you have monthly data in detail, your aggregation should be at month or higher. Otherwise, Power BI might bypass your aggregate and slow down your report. Fifth, pay attention to storage mode. When handling large datasets, use direct query or dual storage modes in your aggregation table if you're sourcing data from an external SQL database. This controls how much data is pulled in and when, so you get the performance boost you're looking for. Sixth, make sure your setup is query compatible. Not every combination of aggregation types and relationships will be compatible. Sometimes Power BI just can't translate your design into an efficient query. If you notice your aggregation isn't being used, double-check your mapping and relationships. And finally, keep modeling restrictions in mind. There are certain limitations, like unusual data types or unsupported calculation methods, that might block your aggregation from being used. Don't be discouraged if you run into roadblocks here. Often, a small change will resolve them. Alright, that's a deep dive into how to handle aggregation tables with averages in Power BI. Take your time experimenting with these features and remember, it's totally normal to need a couple tries to get everything mapped and performing just right. If you found this tutorial helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below with any questions or your own tips for managing averages, and don't forget to subscribe for more Power BI tutorials. Thanks for watching.